with like 5 and 10 users and all of that. But I wanted to be able to work at scale and do really important work. So that was one of the things that kind of got me looking around. I looked at a ton of the guys like Microsoft and the large companies that were in Nigeria, but I realized that most of them didn't have actual large development teams, and they didn't do a ton of R&D and product development, right? So most of them just, you'd spend your time implementing stuff and all of that. And that's that's a perfectly valid role, but I was not interested in that, right? I wanted to have more input in what was going on, and I wanted the opportunity to solve what I term as real problems. So so that was kind of my first dissatisfier. Second dissatisfier was I had started in my time in Nigeria. I had started maybe three different startups on the side, and actually one was doing very well, and we were able to sell that and exit, right? But it was so difficult scaling a business in Nigeria because there was a ton of bureaucracy. It was in the health tech space, and I just wasn't feeling very confident in paying all of those bribes and on the money table, right? On that table money. So that was kind of my second dissatisfier. So that's really those things were on my mind. And then in May 2018, I have a friend called Jose who was doing a PhD in the US, and he called me and said to me, why are you still in Nigeria? And I told him, I gave him a list of all the stuff I was doing. Business was doing pretty good. I had a good job and all of that. And he said to me, well, Boma, if you're pretty smart, and if you can succeed in Nigeria, you can succeed anywhere. And that was kind of the seed that he planted in my head. And it was this, if any of you have seen this movie Inception, it was kind of that Inception moment where he planted this tiny seed of an idea in my head where I was like, maybe there's much better out there. And of course there are the other stuff around quality of life and security and trailers not falling on you and stuff like that, right? So all of that came to my mind, and I then had a conversation with my wife, and we decided, yeah, we'll do it. So we spent almost a year to a year and a half preparing. So it was, and through this conversation, I'll take you through some of the processes that we went through, right? But I spent almost a year analyzing the market, looking at what jobs are available in the Canadian space, what jobs will grow, what kind of companies are growing, where they are geographically, looking at things like cost of living and all of that. And we'll talk about a couple of those, right? And I started interviewing from Nigeria, and I'll tell you how to do that. So I understood that I required a head start, right? So I started interviewing from Nigeria and got some of those conversations going. So hopefully to reduce the time you kind of lay around just applying in Canada. So, and actually it kind of worked out. So in my first, probably my second day arriving in Canada, I actually got a product management job. But I didn't take it for a couple of reasons. One, it was kind of far away from where I lived, and they didn't have hybrid work, so I had to come in all the time, and it required me getting a car and all of that. And I realized that because it was far away from where I lived, the implication, and it was far away from town, the downtown core where most of the technology jobs are, I realized that one, this job was kind of just a stopgap for me. So I wasn't super excited about working for that company. But I realized that if I went to this job full time and took this opportunity that appeared present, right? The implication would have been, so COVID had not started then. So there weren't like there wasn't remote work. You couldn't interview remotely and all of those. I realized that this job will prevent me from getting the job I actually wanted, right? So you will face some of those difficult decisions. And yes, I second guessed myself after doing that, but I turned that down. And then it took me 3 months to get another role. And I'll tell you some about it. Well, so right now I am an associate director for product management at HelloFresh for North America, and I help the organization develop software for supply chain and software to power their warehouses and distribution services. So that's what I do today. Before that, I worked at a fintech company called Connexit Financial Group, where I led product management and product development to develop financial services for people who were in debt and who had bad credit. And then before that, I worked at GS1 Canada, which is a supply chain company. And in there, GS1 is basically the company that, or the organization that owns the barcode. So every barcode everywhere in the world is issued by GS1. And there, I got to work in solution engineering and new product development. And that was an interesting experience. And fun fact was, GS1 was my first job, my first real job that I took. And I got an offer for product management to be a product manager there. And 2 weeks before I started, the vice president of that vertical called me and essentially offered me a promotion. So I got a 30% raise before I started the job. And I'll tell you kind of how that happened further down. But the long and short is you have to prepare to be overqualified. And that's really the short answer to it. Now, in terms of the content that we will look at, so we have done the introduction. I have told you a bit about myself. We'll look at the opportunities that are in Canada, and it's kind of I have broken it down into 3 steps. One is self-reflection. You have to figure the delta, the difference between where you are and what you want, and that difference will either determine if you are able to do it successfully or not. Now, we'll talk about getting a job in Canada and keeping a job. Those are 2 separate important steps. We'll do some Q&A. We'll look at some tools and resources. Now, this is a fairly short presentation, and I have left a ton of time, hopefully, for us to interact and ask questions and answer, right? But what this conversation is not is, this is not an immigration seminar, an immigration talk, right? So I'm not quite telling you about the Canadian Express entry and how to apply for those and all of that. I think that information is fairly available, and it's everywhere. It's on YouTube, and it's on blogs. I have also put a link to the Canada Immigration Service in this presentation that I'll share with Nafsat, who hopefully will share it with you guys, so you get some links. But long and short is, the advantage of moving to Canada is, one, the process is simple. Okay, it's not simple, but it's straightforward, and it's clear how it works. So there's an express entry program that basically scores you based on points, based on your ability to pass TOEFL, your scores, your experience, your degree, and whether you have a family or not, and the area that you work in. And when you plug all that information in the website, you get a number, and that number is really simple and straightforward. You get a number, and I think twice a month, although COVID has changed the frequency in which they do it, but I think it used to be fortnightly. Canada will invite people who get above a certain cutoff point, and it's a moving average based on the number of people in the pool, right? Now, as just to note, the average is going up for a couple of reasons. One, more educated people are moving to Canada, so the competition is kind of increasing. And two, younger people are moving to Canada. So Canada provides an incentive for younger people to move here for a couple of simple reasons. One, you're younger, you will integrate into the system faster. You hopefully will get a job quicker because if you're younger, you probably don't have a ton of experience. So entry level jobs are much easier to get than more experienced jobs that have lots of other requirements. And then you pay tax to the Canadian government longer. So for those selfish reasons, the Canadian government favors younger people applying, right? So basically, if you're under 30, you have a larger advantage to apply. However, there are other methods that you can use to improve your score, like the provincial nomination program, where you apply to a particular province, and that province kind of sponsors you. So that's a longer process, and if if that's the last option you have, then you can do it. It's called the Provincial Nomination Program, PNP, right? And if you get that, you will definitely get invited and get into Canada. So that's just an aside. So that's kind of all of the information I'll be talking about relating to immigration. So I will abstract the information about immigration away, imagining that it's easy to get on YouTube, because it is, and you can read up on it on the Canadian website, Immigration Service blog, and all of that. Now, when people think about moving from Africa to Canada, and you can kind of extrapolate this to globally to other markets, they kind of go with this fortune favors the bold mentality. They're like, I'm taking this big jump. I pray, I jump. Hopefully I land on my feet. That's one way to do it, but I will suggest that that's a very painful way to do it. And it's probably not going to lead to optimal results, and you will see further down the line. So I actually will say that, sorry? I'll actually say that fortune doesn't favor the bold, it favors the prepared. So my one advice to you today, if you don't hear anything I say, is please prepare, please be over prepared, and realize that the process of preparation to compete in a global market like Canada or the UK or wherever you want to go also helps you be better at your current job. And even if the immigration effort doesn't pan out in the way that you want, you are supremely more qualified than more people in the current market you operate, just because you have kind of gone through this process of how do I compete in North America versus Africa. So again, as I said, I'm hoping to pass across information that's not easy to Google, and Also, one caveat is remember that this is just my point of view. As objective as it sounds, it's still subjective because it's my point of view. So I would encourage you to look at other data points, look at other points of views. There are lots of people who have started vlogs about their journey in Canada in technology, and they're super useful. They're helpful. I spent a ton of hours just binging on that content on YouTube because it's one of the things that helped me in my Canadian journey so far. Now, I'll just put this out there straight, and immigration is going to be one of the hardest things you will ever do. And one of my goals in this conversation is to be straight and be a bit blunt in how I pass across the information, because something I have realized is a lot of Africans in the diaspora somewhat sugarcoats the experience of immigration to other Africans, and I don't think it's fair because it gives people the an inflated expectation of what to expect.
Yes, it
Did
did.
my slides just disappear?
Would you like to share anything? Yes, it did.
All right, I'll find it again. Is it back?
Yes. Yes, it's back.
Awesome. All right, so let's keep going. Now, as I was saying, I plan to give you information kind of straightforward and talk to you based on my experience and what I have seen. And it might sound a bit pessimistic, but that's not the intent. The intent is for you to understand and grasp the enormity of the task and be prepared to surmount that challenge, because you certainly can, right? Now there's this joke that's kind of said in corners of Toronto, where they tell you that a Toronto cab is the best place to have a heart attack. And the reason they say so is because there's a huge chance that your taxi driver is a doctor, and an immigrant doctor from another country, right? So that just hopefully puts it in perspective, um, for you, that moving countries is difficult. Adapting to the current environment is difficult. Being able to get a job is pretty difficult, and you have to over index on being prepared. That's literally the one thing I will keep saying as we go along, because I want you to realize how important this is. Your mental toughness will be tested. Your confidence will take enormous beatings, because I'll give you personal experience, right? I easily applied to maybe 20, 15 jobs a day for almost 2 months, right? Before getting a job, right? So you will go through interview processes, and some will look very promising, and then it'll fall away for various reasons, right? So I have a friend who went through an interview process, and she thought she was going to get the job, right? At the point where you make a presentation in a job interview, and someone on the panel stands up, claps, and shakes your hand, you fairly feel confident that you have gotten the job, right? But she still didn't get the job. So you will face those scenarios where, honestly, your mental toughness and your confidence will be tested, and you have to ground yourself, knowing that you have prepared enough, knowing that you are qualified to compete. If not, it becomes a downward spiral. You kind of become disappointed, you become desperate, you become depressed. And it's almost a vicious cycle because when you're in that frame of mind, you cannot perform at your best at interviews, right? Because when someone is desperate and interviewing, it comes across a certain way, and that doesn't help your case. So I'll keep going. Now, in terms of being prepared, right? Most people, just as I said, focus on escaping Africa and like I'm going to a better life and all of that, right? But they don't quite contextualize the struggles where they're going, right? So there's this saying that the grass is always greener on the other side. So yes, you will move to Canada successfully, and there'll be electricity 24/7 and all of that jazz, right? Which is fantastic. But you the reason you need to be prepared in Nigeria or in Africa before you move is you almost cannot save enough to be unemployed in Canada, right? So that's something I want you to realize. It's better for you to spend 1 year preparing in Africa, because I promise you can't save enough to be unemployed in Canada, because with every day you're unemployed, your account balance is going down step by step. You're seeing your bills. The bills are cyclic, 2 weeks or monthly. Bills keep coming whether you're employed or not employed, right? So that doesn't matter. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, my wife got the electricity bill, right? And because it's summer, it's hot. So we have been using air conditioning a lot. And we got a bill of $300 for electricity. Now, $300, if I convert that, 300 Canadian dollars, if I convert that to Naira, what's the exchange rate currently? Can someone do the math and type it in the chat box or unmute their mic and say what that number is, right? And think about paying that money. Sorry?
About 120,000 naira.
Correct. So contextualize it, right? So you're paying 120K for electricity. You will pay for gas. You will pay for rent, right? You have your mobile bills, and everything is almost subscription based, right? So it's death by 1,000 cuts, and your bills keep running. And I wanted to give you an example. So what I did was I went online and the Canadian housing authorities and looked at what the average rent is for a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom, right? And these are the top cities in Canada. So I live in Toronto, and if you're living in a 1-bedroom, you probably are paying somewhere between 1.7 and 1.9 if you have a good deal. So I'll give you information. When we moved here, so I live in Toronto. Our first apartment, we paid 1.9 per month. Can someone do that math in rent, right? So 1.9 per month, monthly. How much is that in Naira?
About 760,000 naira.
Correct. So I just wanted to hopefully contextualize it to help you understand that you cannot save enough to move, to afford unemployment in Canada. So that's really the point I'm driving at. And when people move half prepared or unprepared, they get into situations where they must then find survival jobs, right? And if you go on Quora and all the different online websites, Reddit and all of that, you ton about immigrants having to be underemployed, unemployed, and then having to do survival jobs. And then you're in a position where you have to either be an Uber driver, a Lyft driver, or work in an Amazon warehouse. Now, by itself, that's not a bad thing, right? It's honest work, and you actually make some money doing it, right? But here's the catch. A lot of those jobs require a lot of time and physical energy. So it belongs to those classes of jobs where I describe them as jobs where you convert your energy and time directly to money, right? And it's inherently not sustainable because those are jobs where if you fall sick, you have no employment, you have no money. If you're an Uber driver and you have an accident, your employment just went out the window and all of that, right? And then those jobs require so much time to be able to make ends meet that you then do not have the bandwidth to even upskill anymore, right? Because you're just tired, spent at the end of the day. So you do not have the bandwidth anymore to come and upskill and get better to get the dream job that you require. So I just wanted to put that in perspective, right? So your goal moving to another country and looking to work in technology will be to prepare as much as you can and be in a position where you don't have to do those survival jobs, where you can afford some time to actually network, attend interviews, and give yourself the best chance, right? Now, there is a verse from the Bible that says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge," right? And that's true, especially in this case. So I'll give you an example that happened. It happened 2 days ago, and it was pretty jarring and touching to me, right? So I had to travel to the US for work, and I was in an Uber on the way to the airport to come back to Canada, and there was this man, probably 50. He's not more than 50, and he sounded very intelligent. So long Uber ride, 30-40 minutes. I take the opportunity to learn about people, chat with people I don't know, and kind of broaden my view of the world, right? So I started having a conversation with this man, and we kind of were talking about random stuff, and he came across to me as quite intelligent. And then I got curious, and I kind of inquired and asked a couple of personal questions because he didn't mind, right? And I asked him that I figured out he was an immigrant because he had an Asian accent. So I asked him how long he's been in the United States, and he told me he'd been there for 10 years. And he was, during our conversation, he was talking about stuff in agriculture and all of that. And I got curious, and I asked him if he had a degree in agriculture or he was a farmer. And he said, no, that he's not either of those, that he remembers that information from secondary school. So that amount of recall and intelligence was quite stunning to me. And I thought to myself, this guy should not be an Uber driver, right? And I took a step forward and I asked him, did he go to college? He said, yes, he went to college, and he went to college in Nepal, and he has a master's degree in economics. However, he's been in the United States for 10 years, and he's an Uber driver. And I asked him how his experience looking for a job had been, and he told me his struggles and all of that. And he tried even getting a job in IT, and he was very knowledgeable about it because he was talking to me about software testing and Scrum and Agile and Waterfall, and kind of saying things that I didn't expect him to know, right? And I didn't quite expect to get into an Uber driver with someone who taught himself Java, tried being a QA developer, but somehow wasn't able to stack the information in a way that helped him get a job. So that that was an experience that happened to me just a couple of days ago, but I probably would never forget. And I was so moved that, you know what I did? I asked him for a piece of paper, took out my pen, and kind of sketched out a career plan for him and courses for him to go do to become a DevOps engineer, right? Because he knew how to program, some not very well. He knew about quality assurance and quality testing, and I kind of drew a path for him to get a couple of AWS certifications and get a job. And I'm pretty sure that he's intelligent enough to be able to get that done in like 8 months because he has all of the experience, right? So it's just to show you that it's important to get the right knowledge, and it's important to network with people who have kind of been through this path and can help you escape the potholes along the way. So we'll keep going. Opportunities in Canada in technology they're massive, and there are a ton of opportunities. Technology is growing rapidly, with the United States being more difficult to get in. It's more difficult for companies to get started with their last president. What has happened is a lot of startups have started recruiting from Canada and moving to Canada. So probably every large corporation has proper technology teams in Canada, from Google to Microsoft to Twitter. Like literally everybody is in Canada. So they have second headquarters, they have offices in Canada and all of that, right? So Canada is a fantastic place to come in terms of looking for jobs in IT and technology. And this is just a report. This is just a snippet from a report by a HR recruiting company, and it shows that the average salary for technology is about 87K per annum. Now that's honestly a bit on the high side compared to an entry level role, but it's just to help you contextualize what's possible. And the top 10% earners surpass 120K, right? So if you're earning 100K, all of a sudden the rent of 19 is not a significant hit to your bottom line as a person, right? As opposed to trying to pay 19 from your Nigerian savings or from your savings in an African currency, right? So there are opportunities. The opportunities are expanding. New roles are coming up on a daily basis. I can personally tell you that, for example, in my company, on my team today, I am presently hiring for roles. We're looking for software developers we can't find. Companies are desperate because with the COVID pandemic, lots of companies have been forced to focus on technology to grow, to scale, right? So it's this natural experiment that has forced them to figure out how to become online or digital businesses. So there are implementations of CRMs happening on a daily basis. Startups are popping up. Startups are getting tons and tons of funding. So this is a fantastic time to explore a career in technology and in IT, right? Now, the first step is what I call self-reflection. So I have told you the opportunities that exist. I have hopefully given you and maybe scared you a little bit about the hurdles that you will need to overcome, and understand that being unemployed for significant periods of time in Canada is inherently unsustainable. So let's start on a path to how to get employed. So one is, I'd say, self-reflection, and you will have to be ready to sacrifice, to reinvent, and to chart yourself a new path. And I'll tell you why. One is understanding that moving countries is both an opportunity and and a course, right? Because one, you're moving to a place where nobody knows you. Your experience is is not directly transferable. There is the reality of Canadian experience where you're almost in this catch 22 situation where you need a Canadian job to be able to get a Canadian job. And then that kind of begs the question, how do you get a Canadian job, right? So it's kind of the classic scenario that occurs in Nigeria where you see a job vacancy asking for someone who is less than 26 with 5 years of experience. And you're like, in what scenario does that occur? So you kind of are faced with that challenge again, coming to Canada, right? So one is whether it's said obviously or not. Being African, there is a certain handicap that you have in terms of getting a job. One, there is some implicit racism, and that's just a fact, right? It's horrible, it's bad, but it exists. So if you are blind to it, well, okay, but it exists, and the fact that one, you have an African name handicaps you, right? So studies have shown that managers and HR recruiters are less likely to call candidates that have names that they cannot pronounce. My name is Boma Tai-Osagbemi. Now, for a fact, they can't pronounce any of that, and it's understanding that that's a handicap, right? The other solution is to change your name and become like Ben Smith or something, and well, that's up to you. But there's that one. Two, the second handicap is nobody knows most of the companies that you have worked for, right? So I worked for InterSwitch, and it's a pretty big company, right? And you can kind of go around Nigeria and say you work for InterSwitch, and people are like, oh yeah, it's a big company. They might not know what it does, but they remember seeing the names and the logos on ATMs and cards and in banks, and just figure, yeah, it's a company, it's a legitimate company. But here, nobody knows what it is. So you first have to start by even introducing the company that you work for and legitimizing that company, right? So that's one. Two, nobody knows most of the schools that you have gone to. So short of you having gone to like Harvard, Imperial College, Yale, the Ivy League schools of the world, if you went to what's a regular African school, University of Cairo, University of Lagos, nobody knows what that is. Most people don't even know where Lagos is, right? So understand that your educational experience is also kind of taken down a few notches because they don't know it, right? And it's a natural human tendency to gravitate towards what you know and to give more weight towards what you know. So that's why people buy brands that they know and they keep buying those brands because it's a bug of the human mind. So it's not, that situation isn't even racism or anything. I just don't know what school you went to. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if your lecturers are any good. So I don't know any of that. Now, we talked about Canadian experience, and let me take a step back to tell you what Canadian experience means. So when they talk about Canadian experience, the real reason that Canadian companies are somewhat reluctant to risk hiring immigrants is one, there's the concept of culture fit, and we'll talk about culture fit towards the end, because we will talk about how to get a job and how to keep a job, and they're two separate things, and they have two different requirements. So we'll talk about culture fit. Can you communicate in a way that they understand? Do you understand their culture? Do you know things that are taboo and to the Canadian environment? There are things that you would say that are perfectly valid and they're perfectly normal in Nigeria and in Africa. And if you say them here, you will get fired. I promise you, like that day. So it wouldn't be a long drawn out process. You will get fired by the end of the day if you make it that long. So it's all of those things that are kind of wrapped up in Canadian experience. And that's why it's so difficult for immigrants to get jobs, because one, nobody wants to take a risk on you. They don't know your education. They don't know you. They don't know your company. They don't know if you can behave in what society here has determined as appropriate, right? So those are all the things that come together to form Canadian experience. And that's why getting your first job is super important, because getting your first job helps legitimize you in the Canadian context, right? So your second job, I tell friends that move over all the time, and I tell them that the hardest thing you'd probably ever do is getting your first Canadian job. Second job is easier than the first job. Third job is easier than the second. And after that, yeah, it's easy. So I remember when I moved here, I spent a ton of time reaching out to recruiters. I networked online. I actually went online and found a database of various recruiters, and I sent them emails introducing myself. And of course, a ton of them didn't know me. So my conversion rate was really poor and really low. But hey, it's what you've got to do, right? And if I contrast that to now, today, I probably turn down 2 recruiters every week on LinkedIn. They reach out to me and they're like, yeah, we like your experience and all of that. And sometimes I roll my eyes and I'm like, where were you when I was looking for a job? Right? I'm the same guy. But right now, they have seen I have worked in Canadian experience in Canadian companies, and I have moved roles successfully and all of that, right? So now they're like, oh yeah, this guy must know what he claims to know. So let's reach out and let's hire. So understand that. Understand your strengths and figure out adjacent career opportunities for you. So for example, are you good at project management, and is this an opportunity for you to explore a career in IT project management? Are you great at documentation and understanding systems? Is this a great opportunity for you to explore a career as a business analyst? If you have if you like data, so there's this buzz going around right now about data and big data and all of that, and that's been around for a couple of years now, but now everybody wants to be a data-driven organization. So there's an opportunity for you in data if you have some experience. You can explore being a data analyst. You can explore being like a BI analyst and all of that, right? My one counsel would be, while you're looking at different jobs and different opportunities, also look at the career paths associated with those, right? Because there are certain jobs that are easy to get, and I classify them as low ceiling, low floor jobs. So the floor to enter is quite easy, right? But the ceiling is also very low. So the amount that you will earn is inherently capped by the position, right? So be careful when you're looking at different jobs and different opportunities. Also look at the career paths, right? So go on LinkedIn, look at someone who has done that job, who did that job 3 years ago. What's the person now? Someone who did that job 5 years ago. Where's the person working? Does that person look like there's progress in their careers, right? So, for example, if you're interested in becoming like a data scientist, it's hard. I'll just tell you straight. It's hard to do that, and you will be competing against people who have PhDs in mathematics, physics, and engineering. So if you have a strong engineering background, you might start, and you don't have software development experience or strong data analysis experience, you might start out using your understanding of like Python and entry-level programming skills to get a programming job. Getting a programming job, if you're like a half-decent programmer, is super easy. So getting a programming job is probably the easiest high-paying job you can get in Canada. So you can get that, and on the side, you can keep working on data science projects and data engineering projects, and then your best chance is probably to move within the company, right? But for example, if you have a degree in like literature or history, it's probably going to be a bit difficult trying to be like a data scientist. So it's not impossible. You might be super gifted and you might be like a genius. So you understand everything like easily, but there is a ton of complex mathematics that you need to grab to do it successfully. And I can tell you because I started my career. So my undergraduate degree is actually in pharmacy. I never practiced it, so I never wanted to be a pharmacist. I kind of did it because my parents wanted that and gave them that degree, right? And I kind of went back to school and started an online remote degree at the University of London, another bachelor's in computer science. So I started doing that, and I'm currently on track to do a master's in that. So based on the coursework that I have seen, right, and the fact that I have been working in technology before I started that, and I could program before I started that, I can objectively tell you it's hard. It's very hard. So in terms of bridging your expectation gap between reality and expectation, understand that it's possible to become a data scientist working on AI, computer vision, and all of those sexy stuff, right? At Google and Microsoft, and those jobs pay insane amounts of money. But to get there, my counsel would be to build a stepwise path to achieving that goal. And finally, I know that a ton of people who work in banking and operations in Nigeria and Africa tend to immigrate here, right? Now, that's great. But I have noticed that it's really difficult to convert a ton of those banking skills in terms of operations. So for example, you could have been a branch manager at Zenith Bank or something, which is for all intents and purposes, a managerial role and all of that. Coming here, those roles don't translate very well, because the problem is in banking and in operations generally, operations are very company centric. So the way a branch is run in Nigeria is totally different from the way a branch is run in Canada. The software you use is totally different. So it's almost like a whole new world. So nobody is going to look at your resume and say, oh, branch manager, come and be a branch manager. I've almost never seen that happen. Possibly happens, but I've almost never seen it happen. So my counsel will be to look within the branch manager skill set or the operations manager skill set that you have, be it things like project management, business analysis, business development, stuff like that. Look at those subsets and then think about coming here and almost pivoting your career slightly towards those opportunities, right? So that's my one caveat for people who currently work in banking and in company operations. So I have talked about being able to reflect, understand where you are, where you want to go, and be prepared to bridge that gap and develop a realistic plan, right? So that would be my counsel, because the journey of self-improvement starts with understanding where you are. And then I have talked about this. Prepare to be overqualified in every job that you apply for. That's probably the only way you will rise above the fray. Because I'll tell you for a fact, right? Some of the in terms of immigration, lots of Indians, lots of people from Asia and China are immigrating to Canada simultaneously, and literally every other country you are thinking of immigrating to. Now, the implication is it's a competition, right? There's only one role, right? At a point in time. So nobody is going to be like, oh, I like these two candidates. Maybe I'll create a new job. Nobody's going to do that, right? There's no business case for that. So understand that your competitive set is large and wide, and the average person coming from India has like a master's degree, has a ton of certifications, and is prepared to work for less. So understand all of those things and prepare to be overqualified. So in every job that you're applying for or you're going to be applying for, prepare to be overqualified. Now let's talk about getting a job, right? So we've talked about coming to Canada, you figured out what you want to do, you have it all mapped out, and now you want to figure out how to get a job. One, my counsel to you is location is very important, especially for IT. So I see a ton of people immigrating to Canada, going to some backwater town because it's cheap, right? So as opposed to looking for where the jobs are and where the opportunities are, and looking for where the headquarters of companies are, because your distance to the headquarters is somewhat correlated to how soon you get promoted, right? And they go to some faraway town just because it's cheap, where there's like 100,000 people and 12 technology jobs or something ridiculous like that. It's obvious that you're not going to get a job. So yes, your dollar will stretch longer, your savings will take you longer, maybe rent there is much cheaper, but yeah, you live an unemployed cheap life. So that's kind of what you need to be conscious of. Look for where the jobs are and figure out how to immigrate there. So for example, the Greater Toronto area, which is a very small part of Canada, accounts for about 42% of the jobs in technology. So it just makes sense that if you want to give yourself the best chance at landing a job quickly, you should go to where the concentration is, right? Which means there'll be more openings, you get more interviews. It's a game of numbers, right? So let's say for every 100 resumes you send out, you get one call. For every call you do, maybe you get your conversion rate is maybe 20%, right? Now, imagine if you had a lot of places to apply to versus you're in a small town that's cheap and everybody knows everybody, it's fine, but you can't get a job. Then you kind of end up in Uber and Amazon warehouse. So that's one of the things that I've seen most Nigerians make a mistake doing. The other thing is have a portfolio, irrespective of what what you want to do, find a way to create a portfolio. When I immigrated, I created a website that was my portfolio. I put in a video that introduced myself, talked about my strengths, listed out some of my accomplishments, and that was a way to stand out, right, from the crowd, because most people will not do that or cannot do that or just don't think of it, right? So you need to be able to find a way to distinguish yourself, to stand out one way or the other, right? So I had that on my cover letter. I'd include a link to that website. I had a QR code that you could scan and go to that website to learn about me, right? So so you just need to figure out ways to stand out, have a brag book, understand the things that you have done, the impacts, have them at the top of mind. Have a working LinkedIn profile. Now, I put working in there because lots of people have LinkedIn profiles and it's a list of stuff and it means mostly nothing. And understand that most recruiters, before they call you, will go to your LinkedIn profile to look at you to figure out if you're legit, because most people will lie on their resume, but it's more difficult to lie on LinkedIn because everybody else can see it, right? So on your resume, you can lie that you're doing your boss's job, but yeah, when you do that on LinkedIn, someone will call you out. So they will always check out your LinkedIn. Then two, understand that most jobs are not advertised. So I think only about 65% of jobs are advertised. So recruiters will go and kind of search LinkedIn and create their own lists and call people. So think of LinkedIn as your best advertising tool. Understand that there are keywords you need to use. Look for the keywords that are relevant to your industry and put that in your profile in a way that helps recruiters find you, because that's important. So you wouldn't even know that the jobs are advertised, right? So I'll give you an example. My wife she's on her third job in Canada, and she didn't apply directly for any of those jobs. So recruiters would just reach out to you on LinkedIn and ask you, are you interested in X, right? But the only reason they'll reach out to you is if you have a profile that presents yourself in a professional manner. So your profile picture is important. Please do not use your birthday photo shoot. Those things don't work well on LinkedIn. You have to look professional. I have seen people with like balloons and stuff on LinkedIn, and I'm like, okay. So don't do that. Have professional photos. List out your job descriptions. Put stuff that put projects that you have worked on. Link your profile and your portfolio to your LinkedIn, and let people be able to find you, right? Because your LinkedIn profile works for you even when you're sleeping. So put a ton of energy in there. Also, your resume has to be Canadian appropriate. So there are certain standards that the Canadian recruiters are used to, and realize one, that the average recruiter has less than 30 seconds to look at your resume. So yeah, you might have done like a ton of great stuff and you have like a 5-page resume. My recommendation would be, unless you're applying to be the CEO of a multinational, do not have a 5-page resume, right? Cut out things like your hobbies, your references, the stuff that we kind of pad our resumes with in Nigeria. Nobody cares. Understand that your first challenge, your first hurdle would be to overcome the ATS system, the applicant tracking system. It's basically the thing that you submit your resume to. It looks at the keywords in your resume, looks at keywords in your job description, and then almost does a match and determines if your resume should be shown to the recruiter. So if you have a poorly structured resume that doesn't have the right keywords, you will never get called because it will not even get to a human being. It will just filter. So think about even how you use Google today. How many times in your life have you ever gotten to the third page of Google, you looking for something? If you don't find it in the first and second, the other pages might as well not exist, right? So just how websites work on their search engine optimization, you will have to work on your resume optimization. Look for the keywords, read the job description, and modify your resume to fit those. You might have to go back and modify some of the roles that you had in the past to be more specific to that role, right? So for example, if you were a branch manager and you're trying to pivot to project management, perhaps it's a great opportunity for you to kind of take a step back, narrow your tasks and duties to project management for branch operations or something in your resume, and use that. So that helps you put in the keywords that will help you master soft skills, right? So communication is super important. You need to be confident in how you speak, in how you write, and all of that. They're probably as important, depending on the role that you're applying for, as important or more important than your technical ability. So that's something else. And then what I'll do is, let's see, do we have Nefsat? Do we have enough time to review a resume?
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely, Boma. Thank you.
Okay. So I asked someone to send me a resume. Just give me 1 second. Let me find it. And while I'm looking for the resume, please type in the chat, has the information you've gotten been useful so far? And yeah, just give me some feedback so I know how to modify the rest of the conversation. Okay, so I am trying to share Babayemi Abiodun Damilola's resume. Thank you for being brave enough to get your resume reviewed before other people. Okay, so let's see, how long is it? 2 pages. Okay, that's good. If you can, 1 page is even better if you can. But 2 pages can work. Now let's see. Okay, so you have your LinkedIn profile here. I'd suggest, so I'm going to look at this as if you were already in Canada, or you were thinking of moving to Canada and applying. So one of the things that you want to do on top here is put your job, your role. So on top of here, put it, if you're project management, business analysis, business analyst, whatever, put your role up here. That will help you a great deal, because remember, the recruiter has only 30 seconds, has literally thousands of resumes to review. So nobody wants stress. So if they look at it and like, what job is this? What role does this person fit for? And they don't immediately get it, they're trashing your resume. So they wouldn't say so, but that's kind of what happens in real life. So up here, put your put the jobs or the kind of roles that you're interested in. So project manager, scrum master, developer, data analyst, whatever it is. Now, don't put too many because then it will come across as inauthentic, right? Because they're like, this person can do 12 things. I'm like, okay. Then, in terms of your resume, also realize that you will have to make specific resumes to different job roles that you're applying for. So if you're applying to be a project manager and applying to be a business analyst simultaneously in various companies, you will have a resume for project manager that highlights your project manager experience and things that you have done in project management and the project management techniques you understand. And in business analysis, you will do the same thing and talk about your business analyst certifications and all of that. So you want to have them separate, because one of the things I realized coming here is in Nigeria, we somehow do a lot. So the average worker in Nigeria has maybe 3 different roles that they're doing together. You're a project manager plus, and it's just a normal thing, right? It's kind of how we behave and how it is. However, here you can be seen as overqualified or not a specialist. So, for example, I'll give you a fun example in marketing. And I have some experience in marketing because I kind of started my career in product management for consumer goods. I got here and I saw roles like email content development manager. And I'm like, wait, what? There is one person whose job in a company is to write the content for only email. Then there's website content development manager in the same company, and that person's job is to write content for just websites. Then there is a digital content manager who then puts that together. And then there's an email developer who develops just email and doesn't develop the website. So, however, in Nigeria, I remember when I was working in Nigeria, the guy who did my website was the guy who did my email designs, right? So there is more focus and narrower specialization here. So that's one of the reasons that in your resume you might have to split out what you do by role as opposed to by title, if that makes sense. Professional summary. A result-oriented individual with strong competence in relationship banking, marketing, retail banking, corporate banking, in addition to profound customer service and ability to uphold professionalism to effectively carry out organizational objectives. I'll be blunt. This reads like fluff, right? So it's kind of like the cover of a book. If you want a recruiter to reach out to you, make it easy for the person. 9 years of experience in relationship management, managed 12 clients, 300 million in revenue, 5 direct reports, and blah, right? Remember, the person has 30 seconds. They're not going to read all of your experience, right? So again, this is probably a regular Nigerian resume, right? But I'm just kind of using it as a case study. Now, the other thing is, if you're thinking of applying to Canada and you're applying from Nigeria, your location should read Canada, even though you're in Nigeria. Just put Canada in there. I promise you, if it has anything else, you will not get called. Now, in terms of your phone number, I have put a link at the end of this presentation I'll share with you guys. You go to a website. It's called what's it called? Sonitel. I think that's what it's called. It's an app. Get a Canadian number. It will forward it to your Nigerian number. Get a Canadian number, because the first phase of your interview process always starts with a phone call from your recruiter. So get a Canadian number, put it in here. Don't put your Nigerian number. Don't put your location as Lagos. You will not get called. And the reason you will not get called is They don't know you. They don't know if you actually have a work visa. They don't know if you're going to come. So nobody wants that stress, right? So they just be like, there are other applicants. Let's just go to the less risky applicants. So that's one. Also, in your LinkedIn profile, you might want to make this a hyperlink, right? And make it clickable. Just think about the user experience of your resume and reduce all the points of friction that the user might have. Now, personal profile, I'd say maybe replace this with maybe skills and tools. Since this is more technology focused, you can put maybe if you're a programmer, this is where you want to list the tools you work in, the software programming languages if you're applying for like a product manager or a project management role, this is where you talk about Scrum, your communication skills, and just list them as a table. So you can do a 3-column table and just do that, right? Now your education, probably put that at the bottom. Nobody's going to read that yet, unless you went to Harvard. If you went to Harvard, put your education on top. Actually, if I have a Harvard degree, I'll put it right up here. So if you didn't go to one of those schools, I'm just using Harvard as a case study, dump your education at the bottom, because so far, I still don't know what you have done and what you have achieved, right? Which is the reason I will call you. So I'll put all of this at the bottom. So technical skills, this is where I probably would have taken these and put up here. So it's really clear. So technical skills, professional proficiencies, stuff like this, I'll put them on top. So when I look at your summary, I'm like, okay, he has 9 years of experience doing this. He has $300 million. He has managed $300 million in revenue. He has 5 direct reports. So, okay, this guy can be a team lead. So I'm thinking about that. I don't really know about your education yet. I don't care yet. So I'm like, okay, what other skills does he have? Technical skills. Okay, he can use Sage, QuickBooks. Yeah, okay, we use the different ERP, but he can probably do that too. Negotiation and all of that. So like, okay, so this also has that. And then I'll come here and you want to put not your responsibilities. Your responsibilities don't matter at all. Your achievements are what matter. So you put your achievements in there. So exactly. So be careful of the format of your resume, especially when you export it. Can you see this question mark here? I'm pretty sure when this resume was written, this question mark right here, this question mark here, it was written as probably some fancy arrow or something, right? But when you translate it to another format, it breaks. So stay away from using like fancy things like this. It will confuse the ATS. If you have a format that confuses the ATS, the recruiter will never see your resume. So just focus on your achievements, list them out this way. So, and then use the keywords that are relevant within your industry. So you have said cross-sell and upsell the bank's products. So let's say this is a business development role or whatever. Then in here, I can put key achievements. And here I'm like, utilize my skills in cross-selling and upselling to achieve consumer loans valued at 16 million in June 20 whatever, right? And one note is convert your currency. So if you're using Naira or whatever other currency, just convert it to dollars. That makes life easy for the recruiter, because the person probably doesn't know your country, not to even talk of your currency or your conversion rate, right? If you don't have a ton of experience and you're applying to an entry-level type role, then you can have things like contributed, was part of a team, and all of that. In real life, unless you if you're applying for like a more experienced level role, you'll get the straight question. Okay, so what part of this did you contribute to? Right. So that's important, and these pointers also help you in your Nigerian resume, right? So they're important. These do not matter at all. You probably don't need this, but yeah, I know these two are kind of the obligatory things that you must add to a Nigerian resume. Now, let me show you a tool called Job Scanner. And I'm sharing a different link with you guys, or a different screen. Yeah. So I talked about being able to get past the ATS, applicant tracking system. So this is a super important tool that I found useful. I think it costs maybe like $50 per quarter or something, but I promise you the cost is cheaper than being unemployed. Um, Here you upload your resume, so you just basically copy and paste it, or you upload it as a PDF or as a Word file. The next step would be for you go and copy the job description of the job that you're applying for. So whether it's from LinkedIn or whatever, you copy that job description and you put it in here. And what this service is, it's an ATS, so it's an applicant tracking system, and it does that matching that the company you want to apply for does that you don't see, and that's why you don't get called. And then it shows you the results and shows you how much your resume matches that company's job description, and tells you the keywords to add in your resume, and kind of tells you, so it actually returns a number, right? And tells you your resume is 90%, is a 90% match or a 95% match. If it tells you your resume is like a 20% match, you either update your resume or don't apply for the job. There will be no point applying for that job. So it shows you the results. So this is a fantastic tool. I have put the link in the presentation. It works both in Canada, in whatever country that you want to apply to. It works in Nigeria too, if you're interested, right? So it just basically tells you how likely the ATS system will kind of hoist your resume up and tell the recruiter this is someone to look at. I am going to switch screens back. So I just wanted to do one quick resume review. I'll switch back to the presentation. I think we're like on the last slide, or second to the last slide. Okay, so we've talked about the resume, we've talked about ATS, we've reviewed the resume. Now, in part of interviewing, also look at the ways the interview processes. They're different from how we interview in Africa and in Nigeria. And there's this interesting type of interview questions called behavioral interviews. Now, if you're applying to tech jobs, and you're applying to like coding jobs, you will get lead code. You will do live coding, so you can't really like bullshit your way through the process, right? If you say you're a programmer, or if you say you're a data scientist, you will get given a data science problem in real life, and someone would be looking at your screen, and you'd be typing the code, and the code has to run, right? So there and then you have instant feedback as to if you're getting the role or not. So you would know that. So understand the interview process that's unique to the kind of job that you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying to a product management job, one, of course, you need a portfolio to show that you have done product management. If you're trying to transition into product management, my recommendation would be find a friend, build a project, start a startup on the side, join, volunteer somewhere, but just have something that you can point to, because as you're going through the interview process, the recruiter or the hiring manager is looking at your the stuff that you have done. So for example, when I was interviewing, people were going to quickteller.com and they were asking, oh, why did you do this? Why didn't you do this? Why is this way? And of course, as the product manager, you have to be able to answer those questions, right? So you can't quite just slide your way through the process. So for example, behavioral questions, who's brave enough to test out one? Unmute your mic. Let me ask you one behavioral question, one kind of question you might get. Anyone?
Yep.
Okay. Joseph.
Yeah.
What kind of roles are you looking at applying to? What's your experience?
Software development, application development, IT, coding, basically coding jobs.
Fantastic. So coding, you can go through the coding, you can do the coding test, you can pass all of those. When you pass those things, you get to meet the manager, the recruitment manager, right? Or the recruiting manager. And when you meet that recruiting manager, he will test you for culture fit as opposed to competence, because your competence has been validated by passing those interviews. So you will get a question like, Joseph, tell me about a time when you disagreed with your engineering manager and how did you solve that problem?
Okay. Well, there have been several occasions like that. But the first thing is to try to understand where his viewpoint, because there are several times that we've eventually discovered that I was right and he was wrong. But arguing with him at that point would not solve anything. So the first thing I do is to agree with him, review my code, review whatever his viewpoints are, and then bring out my own evidence to point out that he was not right. So most of the time we've resolved issues like that. But basically by not arguing, I'm not the kind that argue much. I prefer to go back and check things rather than argue.
And what did you do when you presented your point and he still said no?
Well, at that point, all I can do is to do whatever he wants me to do.
Okay, so thanks, Joseph, for volunteering. So those are the kind of questions that you will get. My counsel is go on YouTube, look for behavioral questions. You'd see there are tons of practice questions and answers. And look at the answers, practice them. There's certain keywords that they're looking to hear. So it's not a perfectly objective process. There are certain keywords that the interviewer is looking to hear, right? Because people hear what they want to hear, right? So you have to give yourself the best chance. So people want to hear things like open communication, conflict resolution, and all of those. So there are certain buzzwords, I would say, that they want to hear in your answer. So you can answer a question and the answer might not be exactly what they wanted to hear. So they're like, yeah, we don't know about that guy or something, right? But yes, you gave a good answer. I'd say those are the kind of questions you get. Practice, polish, and also always try to give an example. So that's also something that helps, right? So you'd be like, I remember when I was working on a client project and we had a tight deadline. I came up with a better way to solve the problem than the engineering manager, and blah 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 blah. So you talk about and try to use it's called the STAR method. So situation, what is it? So situation, I can't remember the T. There's T, then there's action, then there's results. So just Google this star method and follow it in answering a ton of those behavioral questions. If you're applying to be a product manager or a business analyst, like 90% of your interview questions are going to be those kind of behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when X and X happened. Now, in terms of certifications, you have an advantage where people who like to read and learn and collect certifications like cookies, right? So one, I'd say do the PMP, irrespective of the role you're applying for. It somehow seems to be a hard certification. I have no idea why, but it's something that's super respected and all of that. If you're in software development, do some the cloud, do the AWS cloud practitioner, do Azure, do all of those stuff. If you're looking at a project management job, do the PMP, do CBAP. If you're looking at a business analyst role, do CBAP, do something in Scrum. There are lots of really cheap Scrum certifications, although you have to read, right? So do all of those things because remember, you need to be overqualified. They don't know your school. They don't know where you're from. They can't pronounce your name. And then I think we're on and then keeping your job, right? Now there are certain behaviors that you have to change. So for example, in Africa or in Nigeria, it's common for you to be like a doormat where your boss tells you do this and you're like, yes, boss, and you go do it. Now, that wouldn't help you keep your job because here your boss expects you to challenge them, to ask questions. Of course, you'll do it respectfully, right? You can't just like go and be like, I think you're dumb. But you have to speak up and you have to confidently challenge your bosses and come up with strong points of view. So speak up, be vocal, and be confident. So in terms of after you've gotten a job, now keeping your job, it's super easy to get fired. Like I have been here for a very short period of time and I have seen tons of people get fired. Like it's easy, I promise you. So as a Nigerian, you're a hard worker, so work hard. It will surprise you that that your capacity to work far outstrips what's the capacity for the average person here to get stuff done. So you have that somewhat unfair advantage, so use it. Remember that your first job is just a stepping stone. Do great at it, and you can always get the other one. Culture fit. Culture fit is super important. It's super important. That's one of the reasons that immigrants don't get jobs. So be careful with humor. Be careful with compliments and be careful with what you say and who you say it to. So if you, especially for the men, be extra super careful, right? So there are things that you'd say in Africa and in Nigeria that seems like a compliment. You're like, oh, you're looking very good today. Don't. It can get you in loads of trouble. So understand the culture. Know that it's a totally different place, and I'd strongly advise that you look for this book, you buy it, and you read it. Read it before you get the job. Read it before you apply, so you don't have to get fired. It's a super important book. It's so important that I actually still have the physical copy, right? So buy it. It will save you. It will save you a ton of pain. There are things that are appropriate in Africa that will get you fired in a couple of hours. So be very, 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 very careful and seek to understand the culture, understand the sports that are important, understand the history of the place, understand certain things that you can say, that you can't say, and all of that, because nobody will tell you. You'll just see the results, right? So you just kind of keep losing jobs and you're not quite sure why, because nobody will tell you why you got fired. So that's my this is my final slide, and I hope this has been useful to you. I'll leave. And I've said, do we have time for a Q&A? I have put some links at the end of this, so when you see the slides, you can use them. And yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, I'm here to answer. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and yeah, I'm happy to chat at any time.
Is the floor open for questions now?
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Boma. So let's just give some few minutes for people who have questions to go ahead and ask their questions. We'll take about 3-4 questions and then we'll call it a day. So go ahead now.
All right, thank you. Boma, thanks for that section. My question is talking about getting a job. For recruiters, do they look more into your experience, your capabilities, or more into your educational background?
Your experience. Easy answer. Your experience. You can get a, if you have the experience, you can get a job without a degree.
Hi, good.
Buka, if you're trying to speak, we can't really hear you. Your network seems to be very shaky.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Okay, it's a bit better.
Yes. Hi. Just to piggyback off the previous question, you said experience, but what if does that the same apply to entry level roles?
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
You mentioned experience being important. I was asking how, so for entry level jobs, does that still apply, or is there a way around it, or is there something you can do to boost yourself? I'm guessing the portfolio is one of them, but is there anything else for entry level jobs?
For what kind of job are you considering applying for?
Data analyst.
So, what degree, what education do you have?
Engineering, electrical, electronics.
Okay, so you have a quantitative degree, which is great. You're looking at data analyst, which is great. Now, what you do in that instance is, I'd recommend you do a couple of projects, and you find somewhere, you find some company, find a startup, volunteer. If you have to work weekends, do it. And get some real life experience under your belt, and that will help you. So you have an actual portfolio to talk about and be like, this is what I did. These are the models I built. These are the dashboards I created, and all of that. And if you're creating dashboards for your portfolio, create relevant stuff. Think outside the box. Please don't do a COVID dashboard. Everybody's doing it. think of something different, think of something relevant. If you're interested in a particular industry, think about the ways that you will apply your skills in that industry and create dashboards, create models, do data analysis that fits that industry, right? So if you want to work for example, in financial technology, then do something on the stock market, do something that shows that tracks the prices of houses and shows maybe the correlation to GDP or the correlation to PPP or one of those indexes, right? So think outside the box, be creative in how you do your projects. And my other recommendation would be if you ever run out of ideas, just go online and type top 10 ideas on projects for X, and there are tons of blogs that give suggestions, right? So you don't have to worry about even coming up with the idea itself. Just figure out how to implement it in a way that you can talk through it knowledgeably and you can defend it, right? Because here students go to school for 4 years, I believe, but they spend almost the whole year working on internships. So you might find a software developer who graduated this year, but on his resume, he has spent 3 months working at Microsoft, spent 1 month working at Google, and 1 month working at Amazon. So that guy has experience under his belt that doesn't quite compare to what we see in Africa. So yeah, I'd say do a project, volunteer if you have to. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Hi, Olujimi. Do you want to ask your question?
Yes, I want to go ahead with my.
All right.
Hi, Boma.
All right.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. Okay, so my question is, I'm actually like in a dilemma right now. So my background is BSc, MSc Economics. I'm trying to transition into software development. So my question is, which route do you advise I follow? I'm actually in a dilemma between going for another master's in computer science, like a conversion master's in the UK, or going to a coding bootcamp.
Oh,
Okay. So where have you worked? What experience do you have?
Okay, I have 5 years of banking experience from Nigeria. But I work with HelloFresh currently in the UK, the warehouse anyway.
Oh, we work in the same company. I'll slack you. Okay. I'd say a boot camp. And the reason I'll say a boot camp is
Mesa says she's coming. Yeah, I'm good.
sorry?
Apologies, we'll just have to mute that person. Please mute yourself if you're not talking.
Okay. Jimmy, I'd say a boot camp for a couple of reasons. One, there's the opportunity cost of the extra 9 months-ish you'll spend doing an MSc. That's one. Two, an MSc in computer science, most people don't realize is more about computing than about programming. So you don't quite learn to program as much as you think. I keep saying that computer science is mostly mathematics. So it's probably not very beneficial for you to go do an MSc in computer science because one, you will struggle. There'll be a lot of assumptions made. You have an economics degree, so you have a good quantitative background and all of that. But kind of what's the point, right? If you're trying to break into software engineering, so I'd say focus your time and hopefully that reduces the amount of money you have to spend. Go to a boot camp. If an excellent resource that you could actually use is free code camp, right? Free code camp is great. Um, it helps, and the only reason most people can't go through it is a lack of discipline. But if you go through free code camp end to end, you will kind of get to a level where you can then maybe go to a boot camp. So you can do it in parallel. If you have a ton of cash, I just say go to a boot camp straight. But when you go to a boot camp, be prepared to work 12 to 14 hours a day. That's the only way to catch up. Realize that there is a massive gulf between what you know and what you need to be employed.
Thank you so much, Boma. Well,
You're welcome.
yes.
Okay, so who else has a question? We're about to rounding up.
I
I
do.
think I do.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, this is Kunle talking.
Hi, Kunle.
I'm fine. Thanks, Bama. It was a very enlightening one. I want to ask, do I have to migrate first before applying for role? Bearing in mind that I don't have a Canadian address, neither do I have a Canadian phone number while in Nigeria. Or can I still apply while I'm in Nigeria? Thank you.
Hmm. If you, so my, one of the reasons I advise people to, if you want to immigrate to Canada, do the come via the express entry route, is because one, when you come via the express entry route, you have the opportunity to work for whatever company wherever in Canada. You're not chained or tied to a particular company, right? So that's one. Um, if you, the other thing is for a company to kind of apply for you or pull you to Canada, they have to prove that they cannot find the talent you have in Canada. So that's pretty rare, right? If you have a, I don't know, PhD in artificial intelligence and convolutional neural networks, then yeah, maybe. But if you don't, it's going to be pretty difficult for the company to justify that because one, it costs them money to apply for that, right? So it's called an LMIA report or something they have to file. However, if you're looking at if you're looking at just moving, there are other countries that are more open to kind of importing you. So you might want to look at Europe, look at some countries like the UK. The UK has started doing that a lot more because, well, with Brexit, they're kind of strapped for talent, so they need people. So look at the UK, look at places like Germany. They have a big expat culture. Look at Estonia. Another place that you can look at if you're super experienced, and why I said super experienced is it's an expensive place to live is the UAE. It's it's normal for you to be able to get a job from Nigeria there, and you come across. The other alternative is if you want, you could also look for a fully remote job. That so if you go on LinkedIn or if you look at job applications, sometimes you might see jobs that say location remote worldwide. So a fully remote job, you can look for that, and that can give you that international experience. So you're working for another a company outside Nigeria earning in dollars or whatever currency they're paying, but and maybe if you're lucky, they might convert that and to a visa and kind of pull you along. But it's often very mentally stressful being chained to a company in a foreign country, right? Because your stay in that country is somewhat closely tied to how long you stay employed. So if that's your only option, then do it. However, if you have the opportunity, I'd say look at the Canadian express entry system, because again, you can work wherever you want, you can leave wherever you want to leave. You live in Canada for, I don't know, 4 years, you can apply for citizenship and then move to whatever country you want. So yeah, that would be my counsel.
Thank you, Boma. Can I quickly ask my question now?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's Joseph again. You see, my own concern is that I don't understand the way the system works in Canada. I studied business administration in university before I ventured into programming. I've been programming for over 7 years now. So, but the challenge is that when I look at Canadian job offers online, most of them require computer science degree and all of that, and it has been a big challenge. And then besides that, I've also considered express entry and all of that, and I discovered that there is, because of my age, I'm currently 36, and because of that, I think my best option from what I've read online is the nomination route, the province nomination route, of which most of them still require that you have a job offer from an employer. So what do I do?
So if there are many scenarios where your people are over 30 and it's a bit difficult to get the high scores required to get an invitation. You can always look at the provincial nomination program. I don't quite think they always require you to have a job. I don't think so. I know a couple of people who did it who didn't have jobs. So I think yeah, I think you can do the provincial nomination program. Find a province that has a decent population. Don't apply to one of those winter desert country provinces where they're like 50 people and all you have is snow, right? The opportunities there are pretty limited. But there are provinces that have good population, and it's great that you have hands-on experience as a developer. So have a strong portfolio, and I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure you can get a job. Like I'd say the easiest job to get is a computer programmer job right now. There's a massive lack of software developers, but easily on my team we're looking for maybe easily a dozen right now.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I can quickly contribute to the guy that asked the question the other time, like you said, boot camp is his best option, and specifically because of his background, data science in software development, because he has a good um, quantity evaluation background. All right, thanks.
Can anybody hear me? Thank you so
Yes, we can
much.
hear you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sonia. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Boma, for that wonderful session. Like, I really learned a lot from this session. I was able to jot some things down. I was able to like come up with some instances to relate to my own reality also. And thank you so much for that. It's like a consultation session where like, oh, I'm speaking to you one on one, and you're sharing all your experience with me. Like, I really learned so lot, and I'm very sure that it's the same thing for everybody on this call. Like, everyone learns something new that they've never learned before. And thank you so much. So we are way behind time. I can see some questions about jobs. Yeah, UI UX job is available in Nigeria and remote also. You can get UI UX job. If you're very good, like Boma mentioned, if you have like good portfolio, if you can sell yourself, it's a good thing for you. And we also help you to achieve that in UTIVA. Yeah, so we have trainings on UI UX design, we have trainings on data science, we have training of software development, programming, we have trainings on product management. So these are the courses that we take in UTIVA, and we will guide you from the point of being a novice to the point that you are very good at what you do. So when you think about like a good place for you to start a career in tech and you don't know what to do, YouTuber is the best place for you. Um, our courses are very short and not very short. I mean, like 4 months, 3 months, 1 month, and we program these sessions and courses in a way that it is very convenient for you. So most of these classes usually run weekends like this, Saturdays and Sunday. We understand that you might be working at the moment, and you might have like some things you do during the week, but you dedicate the weekend for learning. So you get to learn different skills that you wish to learn. If you want to learn data science, we have a data science course for you. If you want to learn product management, if you want to learn programming, if you want to learn product design, these are the classes that we have. And our classes are very affordable. We've actually lowered the barrier to entry so that everybody can afford these classes. I'm just going
Now,
to go ahead.
Princess,
Okay, yes. I'm just going to go
sorry,
ahead.
I have to. So can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. You can go on.
Okay, sorry, I had to quickly jump in because I have another session going, and I want to quickly say a very big thank you to Boma. That is Boma still on the call. That was some solid content that you just dished out there. Thank you for coming around. I know that the time difference is also a very big challenge, and then please switch off your video if you know that you are not in an environment that is conducive. I want to mention quickly that we will reach out to you for a special consultation session, everyone on the call, because we want to invite you specially to learn about how to get into the data science space in Canada and in the UK. Now, remember that Boma mentioned that, this space pays so well, and it gives you some career confidence and a bit of, reliability. This is a space that you can always rely on. We want to show you how to get into that space, into that data analytics or data science space in Canada. This is where we have built some mastery. We know that if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. And I can tell you that for free. Everyone will be jumping into that space and surviving and becoming successful. But it's certainly not easy, right? If you ask me, I would say it's not a bed of roses. It comes with its challenge. But our home job here at UTIVA is to help you navigate that challenge, help you navigate that barrier. My colleague will send you an email only for those that would like to learn how to get into the data science space in Canada. Feel free to join that session. I will be there, to walk you through the process that we have designed, for those that are looking to pivot, into that data science space. Before that time, because this is a very mature group, I will recommend that you do a little bit of research top technology jobs or top high-paying jobs in tech in Canada. Do your research before we hang out again virtually, and then we'll get to talk more about it. Cheers and have a beautiful time. I need to run now. Over to you, Nafisat and Sonia. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Itayo, for that. Thank you so much for that. I don't know if everybody have questions for me to answer about the class. My check, Sonia, are you here?
Yes, Nafisat, I'm here. I am right here.
So you could just walk them through the class again.
Huh?
You could just walk them through the class process again.
Okay, fine. That's good then. So the class is a 6-month program. Boma talked a lot about how your portfolio should always stand out in order for you to be able to bag yourself a great job. Unfortunately, it's 4 months for intensive training, and then you get 2 months where we like to call the portfolio development stage. So for 2 months, you're going to be working on 4 different projects. Now, this is besides the projects that you will be working on during the 4 months of the program. Now, we're going, as data scientists, we're going to be training you on how to use 4 of the most high in demand tools in the market right now: Advanced Excel, Power BI, SQL, and Python. Now, I'm going to give you an assignment, right? After we leave this call, just Google opportunities, vacancies in data science, and I promise you, one of the top tools they're asking for are SQL, Python, and one data visualization tool. For example, Power BI. So now is the right time to start. Don't wait till it's too late. Start right now and start getting yourself ready for the future of work. Aside that, we're also going to help with some job support opportunities. For example, the CV review, the LinkedIn optimization session. As like Boma said, LinkedIn is one of the great ways that you get jobs right now, right? And we're going to help you to learn how, we're going to train you on how to fully optimize your profile so that it's a standard profile, because these guys are not going to go through a substandard profile and reach out to you. No, they're expecting to see something with substance. Now, if your profile has substance, it's very possible that they'll easily reach out to you. So we're going to help you with that too. Cover letter coaching sessions. We're going to help you with a series of interview demo sessions. So in as much as we're not going to we're not saying that after the 6 months of the program we're going to land you, we're going to give you a job. No, we're definitely not saying that. But we are going to help you build enough capacity to be able to apply for these jobs. Right now, if you don't have the skills, there's no way you can apply for these jobs. But imagine a situation whereby you have the skills, you can easily apply for these jobs. Now, the learning model, what does the learning model look like? It's an instructor-led live class, meaning that we're not simply just giving you pre-recorded videos to go home to watch. No, we're not doing that. It's an instructor-led live class. The same way Boma was here to guide us step-by-step instructions. That's exactly how your trainer is going to, take you through each of these tools one by one, step after step. And if you're a beginner, don't worry. It's a very beginner-friendly program. A bulk of our learners are mostly learners, mostly people who have zero knowledge or very, very little knowledge of, data science. So that shouldn't scare you. Saturdays and Sundays, we understand that most people have to work during the week. So Saturdays and Sundays, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. There actually is a class that starts very soon, on the 2nd of October, and there is a discount going on for that price. So instead of paying $475 US, what you get to pay is 190,000 naira only, but only for people on this call. By next month, it is going to be off the table. We're going back to 475 US dollars. For people paying in pounds, it's 314 pounds. So thank you all so much.
My check, Sonia, are you here? Hi, Sonia. Okay, I think I lost Sonia. So you will get emails about the class enrollment, and also I'm going to share the recording with everyone that filled the form. So if you want to get the recording, ensure that you fill this form right now before I end the session. I think Buma left the call. Oh, okay. Yes, he left already. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. It really means a lot to us at Chitiba. It really, really means a lot to us at Chitiba. So if you have questions, you need clarification, please feel free to reach out to us via email or via call. I'm just to go to my phone number. Yes, so this number on your screen, you can reach us to us with our phone number, and also shoot us an email. We are ready to respond to your question at any time. This number is also available on WhatsApp. You can also go to our platform, our website, to get more information about our classes and the enrollment process. Thank you so much for joining
Sorry,
us.
Nafisa, just to jump in. So that is our former number. The new number is current. I just pasted it in the chat box. So the new number is in the chat box. If you want to chat us up on WhatsApp, that's the number to use. Thank you. You can go on.
Somebody is asking for the form. I'm going to drop it again. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, so feel free to reach out to us for email. Reach out to us at dsf_international@utiva.io. Yeah, we're happy to answer your questions and give you clarity. And we'll also invite you for another session to have like a one-on-one call, ask your question on how to start your career in data science or how to start your career in tech generally. I'm happy to host you all, and I'm happy that you all got value for this session. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I want to ask, like, does anybody have questions for us before we end the session? All right, it seems. Okay, I'm sure it's your network, but then you just need to try it again. You can copy and paste somewhere. You can change your network or something. People have been registering on this form and it has been going through. Yes, sorry. Please, if you have questions, just unmute yourself, and I'm going to unmute you. So if you have questions, unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask my question, please?
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask, how is this class structured for, to learn data science with Retriever? Like, I'm kind of busy person, and I've been planning to start learning. Though I've learned data analytics on Google, Coursera, but I still want to, upgrade to Python and other things, Power BI. And so, but I'm planning to use the weekends only. So I want to know then, is there opportunity to pay instrumental?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that. Like I mentioned the other time, the classes runs on weekends like this. So it's a live class. You're not coming to watch a pre-recorded video. It's a class like this where you get to ask your trainer question, get to get the feedback immediately. You don't have to wait till like the 3 hours after or 4 hours after before you can get a response from your trainer. It's a live class. While it's been live, it is being recorded. So the way I'm going to share you the recording of this class is the same way you will get the recording of all your classes, and you have 3 months after the class, 4 months after the class, you still have access to the recording. So imagine you already learned how to use Excel, SQL, and Power BI, and you had like job interview like 3 months later, and you can't remember something. So you can always go back to your recording. You can always go back to your recording to rewatch and watch again. And the recording is like you are attending the classes again. So this is one major opportunity that you have, and it is why it is very important. And this is the opportunity that you have over a physical class where we don't record and we only give you like limited resources. But unlike physical classes or this virtual class, it is being recorded, and you have access to all the recording, and you're not paying extra money for the recording. Everything is all in the payment system. So we allow people to pay in installments. Yes, you can pay in installments. Um, the learning fee is 190,000, but then you can pay in installments. You pay the first initial payment of 100,000, then you pay the remaining 19,000 naira before the class ends, like the second month of the class. So the class runs for 4 months, for Saturdays and Sundays. So you don't have to worry. There will be break in between, but then the break is not that you will not come to class at all. You will surely be in class, but you will be in class with your other colleagues in class. So most times we usually have students from different countries, from the UK, US, Kenya, Nigeria, and most times most of these people are people that are looking to travel abroad, or people that are already in the abroad but they don't want to do many jobs. So just so I'm just trying to tell you this so that you can picture yourself in this class and see the kind of value you'll be getting from these people and the kind of value you'll be getting from us. We have students that wait after the class, like do a lot of question and answer together, and eventually extend their relationship outside the class and go ahead to do business with each other, and they're doing very well. So this is Utiva is one platform that give you opportunity to network with quality people. We've had students that come to us that are really the only reason they are coming to learn with us is because they know that recruiters always verify our certificates, and they know that our certificate is globally recognized. Like I've had students tell me that, like, oh, I know how to use Excel already, I know how to use Power BI. I just need your certificates for me to get better job. Do you know how much value that gives that person? I'm sure the person have a friend that have gone through our program and got a job because of our certificate. So you don't have to worry. You are coming to learn with a community. You're not coming to learn alone. And we know that learning alone can be very boring. So you have support system to help you whenever you are. So apart from the learning platform, we also have like a chat room, like a WhatsApp chat room, for you to ask your question at any time. So if you are watching your recording and at some point you get lost or you don't understand one thing, you can always go to your class WhatsApp group, ask your question. I'm so certain that there's somebody like you in your class that's also working on that project that will answer you. There's always somebody. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., like there's always somebody working on it, because the class is actually intensive. I'm not trying to scare you, but then you are coming to a school. Utiva Data Science School is more like a school. So you get to work on your assignments, you get to work on your projects. So we have a learning platform that allows you to learn. So when you go to after you make your payment, it redirects you to a learning platform. So is um our learning platform is already is planned in a way that if you don't finish a class, you can't move to the next class. Like if you don't do your assignment, you can't move to the next class. So you have to do your assignment. It is very, very, very important for you to do your assignment before you can get your certificate. I'm doing this explanation because I'm sure and certain that everybody on this call will eventually join the class. And when you join the class, you get the assignments and projects. If you miss any class, if you miss any project, and you come to my DM and tell me that, oh, you can't find your certificate or anything. Like, I'm sorry, you will not get your certificate if you don't do your assignments and projects, because this is what you show recruiters that, oh, I've done this, and done this, and we can't give half-baked student certificates. So it is very important for you to do your assignments when you come in. It is very important for you to do your group projects when you come in. So thank you so much. I think there are some questions. Yeah. Okay, for everybody on this call, the learning fee has been discounted to 490,000. Yes, you can pay in installments. You pay 100,000 naira as the initial payment, then you pay the 90,000 naira at the second payment. Also, the class is starting 2nd of October. So because you're on this call and you fill that form, if you can make your payments now, if you are looking to defy your class, like if you think that this October 2nd class might not be convenient for you because of work and other things, you can defy your payment, and you can defy your class, you can defy your class, then you start to the next cohort, but then you can make your payments now, because the course after October 2nd, the learning fee will go back to $475. And we know how much how the current situation is, and how dollar keep on rising, and I'm sure it's going to affect a lot of people. So it's better you pay now than you start your class later, or you pay now or you start your class now. I'm going to send everybody the recording of the session to those that include the call, and also give you other information about the class. Thank you so much for joining us. It really means a lot to us here at Chiba. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So does anybody have questions before I round up? All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great Saturday ahead. Fill the form, and we'll get back to you with the recording for the session by next week. Have a great day. Bye.